Welcome to my review of Mario vs. Donkey Kong for the Game Boy Advance. And this is pretty much a sequel to Donkey Kong for the original Game Boy, which was kind of a sequel to the original Donkey Kong in arcades back in the early 80s. And the Game Boy version is one of my favorite games on the original Game Boy, and it's an expanded game from the original, massively expanded with much more complex stages than the original had and a lot more stages. And it's an extremely good game. This is the same concept, but this is even better than the Game Boy one, I would say. This has, some pretty cool boss fights at the end of each stage. And the concept is very simple. You basically need to get the key for each stage, and then you use the key to unlock the door to advance to the next area. And that's all there is to the game. But, it's done in very unique ways. Like, the stages really vary in what you have to do. And there's some unique mechanics, to achieve those goals, to get that key. There's different things you have to do. A lot of different types of platforming mechanics and, things like that. It starts out quite simple, but, it doesn't get too difficult, but it definitely gets a lot trickier. And some of the stages are kind of hard to figure out if you don't check a video. Some of them can be tricky. So depending how you like to play these games, if you try to figure everything out, then, you're probably going to get more time with it because some of them are tricky. But nothing is too complicated from what I remember when I beat it. I'll definitely link my playthrough video. I'll link that. I never did a tutorial on this one because there really wasn't much to say. I mean, this kind of game you can just watch what you have to do on each stage and you'll know exactly, what you need to do. So there's really nothing to explain with as far as that goes. But the playthrough video is unedited, I believe. So it's not really the kind of thing you would watch to learn how to play the game, but you can watch it and get kind of a general idea of how the game flows, the pacing of the game, and things like that. So I figured I'd post it up. I didn't really want to take the time to edit the entire game. I don't remember if I edited it. I don't think I did, possibly, but I know I didn't do a tutorial on this one. So yeah, I thought this was a big improvement from Donkey Kong on the Game Boy. There's more to the stages. There's more going on, more different things. More new mechanics are introduced. And I just thought it was better overall. And the one for Game Boy was, one of my favorite games on the system. But, they're both close to me. I can't say that this is much better than the one on Game Boy, but I think it's a decent improvement. And like I said, I really, really like the Game Boy original game. These stages, you have to guide these mini Marios to the end, and you have to make sure they pick up all the letters on the way. There's like 3 letters to get in this instance. And these get a little bit more challenging as you get farther into the game. These were okay. These are not my favorite stages, but there's only one of these type of stages in each world. And I believe there is maybe like 6 worlds, but each world has quite a few stages. And each stage is broken up into 2 parts for the most part. This stage here is a unique stage that's not broken up into 2 parts. But most of the other stages are broken up into 2 parts. There's a key stage. The first stage will be a stage where you have to collect the key and open the door. And then the next stage is just a matter of getting to this ball with Mario in it. And you just have to pick up the ball. And that beats that second part. And then that completes the whole stage. When you defeat 2 parts of the stage, you defeat the whole stage. So that's generally how the flow of the game works. Also, you have lives, but they don't mean much because the game saves. You're able to save the game. It saves automatically after you complete a stage, a full stage. The only way that the lives help you out is if you're on the second section of the stage where you have to collect that ball. Then the lives can be useful because if you die a few times, you'll start from that second section of the stage. So lives will be useful for that, but aside from that, lives are really not that important. You can also collect extra presents and shit like that, which will earn you extra 1-ups, and you can unlock, I believe if you collect everything, you may be able to unlock a whole bonus world, which is very cool. I didn't do that. I just beat the game normally, but there is that feature if you want to do it. After you beat the game, it actually loops, and I think it's slightly harder. There might be an extra objective or something you have to do in the loop. I didn't play that part of it because I was just going for the kill, so I just was playing to beat the game. But I really enjoyed my first playthrough of the game, and there's definitely some replay for those that are interested. Probably more replay in this game than the original game. So I think it's improved in that sense. So here's a boss fight, and each one is different. They're all pretty unique, and they're all fun. None of them are too hard, but they're all enjoyable. Like I said, the game is really not a hard game, and if you do get stuck on something, it's usually just a matter, not so much of good twitch skill or movement skill. It's more of a matter of just watching a video and seeing what you're doing wrong. Because some of the things are timing where there's like, switches that you have to press, but you only have a certain amount of time to get to the next switch. So there's different things you have to do in a certain order, things like that you'd see in puzzle type of games like this. Though I wouldn't really call this a puzzle game, but it has some strong puzzle elements. Each stage is something you have to figure out. So it's very much based on that kind of gameplay style. This is not a game like, a run and gun or something like that where you just run through and have to manage enemies. It's all about figuring out the stages and executing everything. But yeah, I tried to include some highlight footage of some of the cool moments and stages. But a lot of it is very similar, so there wasn't really much that I could highlight. You know what I mean? It's just like what you see is what you get. It's pretty straightforward as far as... It's not a hard game to see a video of and get an idea if you're going to like it or not. But it's always better, of course, to play a game. But you can see I'm throwing the key down here, and then I have to hit some switches, grab it before the time expires on the key, because if the time runs out, then the key will go back to its original location. You got to, then grab it again and start over that little sequence with the key. So now when you get into the second portion of the stage, you'll see all you have to do is grab the ball at the top. But these stages can be puzzle-like as well, so, it's always a little bit of a puzzle to figure out what you need to do exactly. The controls are pretty tight, pretty good. I mean, I had some issues with the controls sometimes. When I wanted to jump off ledges, sometimes I would do shit I didn't want to do and die. But for the most part, the controls are quite good. Way better than the original Donkey Kong, which had pretty shitty controls. But of course, by this point, this game is more based off of the Game Boy release and not the original. You have a lot of moves, actually, for your movement. You can run forward, and then if you snap back real fast and jump, you'll do a really high jump. You can also walk on your hands and use your feet to dodge certain falling debris. There's quite a bit of moves. It's impressive that they incorporated so many moves. So the game does have a lot of moves, and if you don't play for a while, you could forget that there were moves that you forgot about, because if you approach it like a game with, just jumping and walking, there's actually a lot more to it than that. So it's easy to forget all the moves if you take a break. But it's easy enough to look them all up. And the game is pretty good about giving you worthless tutorials before each stage, which usually don't help very much, but sometimes they will. I'll give you a little information that can be useful. This is the final boss. I thought this was a very cool fight. You have to first unlock all the toads, and then the toads will help you out to finish off the boss. But yeah, very cool final boss fight. All the boss fights were quite cool. I mean, very good, very well done. And it's very cool to see well done boss fights in a Donkey Kong game based on the original Donkey Kong, not Donkey Kong Country, obviously, but this is based off the original DK. And more so based off of the Game Boy, the extended Game Boy version. So now you get this large barrel, and now after you hit him maybe 3 times with the large barrel, you will defeat him. You have to knock him lower and lower down until he falls off the building. I thought it was a very cool fight. It's easy when you figure out where you can just position yourself. I learned some safe spot positions during certain phases, and once I learned that, it makes it easy. It can be tricky initially if you don't realize that there's like safe spots that you can find. Then it can be a little tricky because it can get pretty dense near the end with a lot of barrels and shit. So it gets a little tricky at the end, but it's nothing too difficult. Even if you don't find the safe spots, it's not a very hard fight, but it's a lot of fun, and it's just a very well done game. So yeah, just like the Game Boy game, this is one of my favorite games that I've played so far on the Game Boy Advance. And I still have a lot more to explore on Game Boy Advance, but I've played a good amount. So this will be the finishing barrel. You see it gets a little dense at this part. It's getting a little aggressive, but nothing too hard. So yeah, great fucking game. I highly recommend the game. I think if you haven't checked it out, definitely, either pick it up or play it on emulation. I would prefer the emulation personally, but however you play it. So I'd give this game an 8 out of 10. If you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.